I would like to start with the Game of Thrones because I did get a summary of what this show is.
Okay.
And there is, weirdly, a climate angle to it. There's winter is coming, and the people there are fighting among themselves, aren't really looking out for the disaster that's coming their way.
Yeah.
I'm going to stretch that a little bit, but we live in a world where climate change, we used to fight about whether it's a real thing and we should do something about it, and now we fight about solutions.
Yeah.
If we stretch the allegory, do you see what's happening in the world today playing out in a way that it did in the Game of Thrones?
No. I don't know. I understand you're not the first one who's made that, they're just fighting, the real danger's out there. And I think that the whole discussion whether climate change is real or not, or if it's man-made or not, it's kind of, we're way past that.
Yes.
I mean, there might be some pockets of resistance. That's okay. People can have whatever beliefs, but I think there's a real consensus that, of course, we know we have to take action, and action is being taken.
Yeah.
Is it happening fast enough? No. But one of the reasons that I wanted to make this show was because I was a Goodwill ambassador. I've been a Goodwill ambassador for the UNDP since 2016, and I was traveling around, been very lucky to travel around the world. And I've seen people in the most dire of circumstances have incredible optimism, incredible will to make tomorrow better than today. And then when you then go back and you want to tell that story, it very often gets caught up in the drama, in the horror, in the danger. And I think that I was like, we need also to tell the story that it is happening. We just saw when they spoke about like ending poverty.
Yeah.
Yes, it's true. If you just look 3 years back, we haven't gone in the right direction. But as you also know with climate and with graphs, you have to look at data of decades. And decades, we like on every parameter when it comes to extreme poverty, gender equality, access to education, we are doing so much better. Climate, we need to take action. We need to move fast.
Now, you
should also just say, because with Bloomberg, I should have said that to begin with. I'm really grateful to be here, to be invited here to Davos, and to show you a little tease, this show that opens in
right, and the Optimus Guide to the Planet is going to start streaming on 8th of February. It's 6 episodes. You traveled around the world. You went from Kenya to Australia, from Greenland to Vietnam to try and find these solutions, to try and highlight where progress is happening.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about those solutions. But before we get there, as a storyteller, I'm a journalist for Bloomberg Green. We write about solutions. As a storyteller, you are a writer, actor, producer, while being a Goodwill ambassador. Dystopia is an easy story to tell. I have a quote from Kim Stanley Robinson, who's a science fiction author. He says, "Disaster stories are too easy. It's a kind of a comfort food when we imagine situations worse than ours and then rest comfortably that we are not that bad." There's tension, you can throw in killing and sex, and it makes for interesting storytelling. Solution stories or utopian stories are much harder because it's about process. These people are working years in, years out on solutions that are, in their own way, small development. They only add up when it's a big picture, when you step back.
Yeah.
But those stories are hard to tell. So when you were trying to make this show, what was your challenge?
Well, for me, it is about solutions, but really it's about people. And that's my whole thing, because I think that the biggest resource we have is us. It's like, and sometimes it's just surprising when people are like, we're never going to do this, and you go to any city, just look around in this room and look at every little thing. Somebody came up with a way to make this. Like, it's not that long ago we were just running around, trying to, crack each other over the head with a I don't know what rock. We can create everything. So, but to answer your question, it was actually, we traveled all over the world, but there was this moment I was here in Switzerland, actually, at this hydro power plant, which is, I forget the name, close to Lausanne, but it had this built-in battery, basically. So one of the big problems, of course, we have with renewables is that when the sun is shining, great, and when the sun isn't shining, we don't have any output. So how do we store this energy? So they had 2 lakes, and when they had an excess output of energy, they just had a pump, and they pumped the water back up to this lake. So it was like a never-ending loop. Genius.
Yeah, it's a water battery.
16 years to build.
Yeah.
It was an astounding thing of engineering. I was just shocked. But of course, 16 years is a long time. But now, of course, it's there, and it's going to be there for a long, long, long time. And to meet those people working there, and that's the same all over the world, it gives you so much, it just inspires you. Because, I was just going to go another thing to mention why doing this. There was, I don't know if you remember, there was a survey a couple of years ago that came out. It's in the Western world, part of the world, asking 18 to 25-year-olds how they felt about the future. And in our part of the world, 50% did not believe we were doomed. Why have kids? There's no future. This whole narrative of, oh, God, the generation before us, they have ruined the world. And that's why I really feel it's important to change the narrative, because yes, the challenges are enormous. Life is really hard. It's always been really hard.
Yeah.
But we together we can do something. And one of the scariest things is when you find the fear that goes in, and that creates anger. Anger creates the need to find someone to blame for this. And then you create division. We don't need that.
And you did go to some places which are currently at the forefront of climate change. You were in Greenland, you were in Kenya.
Well, we started the show in Greenland, and I wanted to go there because my wife's from Greenland. I've been coming there for a long time. And it's one of those places where you can really see climate change up close. You see the receding glaciers. And then I met this geologist who was, he's just so inspiring. Mini Grosing, one of the greatest in the world. And the reason I wanted to talk to him, because he said, yes, he's Greenlandic. And he was like, I'm a little sick and tired of being that our country, our beautiful country, is kind of the symbol of climate change, of the horrors of climate change. And he said, what if we can change that narrative? And it's also a symbol of the solution. Because what he discovered was the silt, which is the glacier flour that is pushed out, which is, if you look at Europe and you can see there's like a green belt, which is basically where all the food is made in the world, the most fertile soil. And it's basically where the former ice age, where the ice receded. So that's because it left all this silt. So he took some of this silt in Greenland, and you have endless amounts of this because it's been being deposited for 10,000 years. He took it to Africa, and then he spread it out, and it just increased the yield enormously. So imagine doing that, exporting all this, and creating, it's just thinking outside the box, but also it's common sense. How do we fertilize the ground without using all kinds of crap we don't need? Use what nature's giving us.
One of the challenges of telling a story about solutions, we face that as journalists day in and day out, is now that the problem is understood and people want to do something about it, there is an explosion of ideas and money flowing towards these solutions. But what is a solution that is going to work, or what is a solution that's vaporware, is still hard to tell. You can't separate the hype from the reality. And again, choosing you have 3 or 4 big solutions in every episode that you go in, which is a lot to cover in a 6-episode series. What was the thinking behind choosing the places that you ended up at?
First of all, we wanted it to be a global show.
Yeah.
Because I think it's very important that it doesn't become like, sometimes wherever you live, you think, well, we have all like Europe, we're going to solve this, or North America, or it is a global problem, but we all face the same issues all over the world. Circumstances are different. And then we can inspire and we can help each other. Now, when it comes to transition, away from fossil fuels to renewables, we know we have to do that. That is the most important thing. But we also know that large parts, we talked about Africa before. We went out to a place where it literally is like just the idea of having access to electricity is a dream, which is still out of reach. Those people need to have that.
Yeah, there are about 700 million people in the world.
And then, we have to make sure that it's not, that they are able to choose renewables. But then there's a huge potential in that. I lost my train of thought.
choosing the solutions. One was you wanted it to be global. So
one's global, but also because it's not just about climate change. This is about all these big issues we face, whether it's waste management or it's clean oceans. So we wanted to get as broad a journey as possible. And of course, my core belief is that, what unites us as human beings is far outweighs what what divides us. And you saw that everywhere. We all want the same thing in life. We want to take care of our family. We want to have a life that gives meaning. We want to have a positive impact on the world. And and just to go back to that thing about having, being depressed about the future. As soon as we left Europe, North America did not meet that. We met, all these young people in Africa, there was just so much energy, so much belief that of course we're going to solve these issues. Of course we're going to find a better solution. And that's why we wanted to do this, because it is just, passionate people are inspiring. It's just that simple. And to see that, you have so many different solutions, you have the highest of the high tech, and then you have people that go, hang on a sec, listen, the solution, we already had it. We just forgot about it 200 years ago. Let's just go back in time and redo that.
Yeah, often if I meet a stranger and I describe to them my job and they're like, oh, you write about climate. Must be a depressing job, they say. And I turn around and say, no, I write about solutions. And actually, it is quite exciting because there's so many interesting ideas that are coming.
Yeah.
People are making bets. People think they're going to make a ton of money, or people are super passionate. In the trailer, it comes through. You had a ton of fun.
Yes.
You went to places and did exciting things. Give us a flavor.
Yeah, I'm a very lucky. I was everywhere was exciting and amazing. There was a lot of travel. Everything was offset. We offset everything, of course. I was told to remind people of that. But
well, the production, film industry does have a big.
We all do, and we can all do better. No, but there's the classic. I've never been to the Great Barrier Reef. To dive down and see that incredible thing. For example, my biggest fear. I'm absolutely convinced we're going to solve the CO2 emission within 50 years, and we'll have a completely green. My biggest fear, of course, is the loss of biodiversity. Is that once you lose these species, then
they're gone.
It's going to take a long time for evolution to bring it back. It's not. That is scary, and once, so that whole idea of waste management, it just blew my mind on how far we have yet to go. The challenges are incredible. But yes, I've been to Greenland many times. I still love that. I'd never been to Japan. And we went there both to see a place called the Zero Waste Village, which I recommend to go to. It's very inspiring. But we also wanted to go to Fukushima to experience, my idea was this simple. I was like, yeah, this is perfect. I can show that nature, if given the choice between humans or radioactive disaster, they're better off with radioactive disaster. Very depressing, right?
Yeah.
But that was my idea. And then I took the scientists out and we had put the hazmat suits on. We went out and I said, so if I say that, would you agree with that? He said, it's not that simple. I was so grateful for that, because nothing is that simple, even though we'd like it to be.
Yes.
He said, we've been around for a long time. We are part of the ecosystem. If you take us out of the equation, a lot of species will suffer. We are the main predator. So if we go, all the other predators are going to come in. All the small animals are in danger. All things that I didn't even think of. He said it in a much more poetic way than I can. But it was just something about, listen, we are part of it. Or I was standing. There's a little shot in the trailer. I was in Kenya and in the Masai Mara, and suddenly all these animals started running. It felt like I couldn't believe it. The whole ground was shaking. And what he said, it's called the Nashalai Conservancy. And Nashalai is a word that basically means balance. We have to find balance between, animals and humans. We have to live together. And I think that we're not that stupid that we're going to destroy our home.
Yeah.
we're maybe not as smart as we like to think, and we got carried away, I think, because suddenly we can do some. I mean, if humans can imagine it, we can do it, right? So we've been using resources like there was no tomorrow.
Yeah.
But there's a tomorrow.
In terms of being able to make the show, right? Like people are going to see it, and it's months and months of work that is then distilled into a great episode.
Yes.
But what are behind the scenes things that you've had to do that most people don't know about? What's production life like that is frustrating, is interesting, that traveling to all these countries, managing to meet all these people, give us a behind the scenes look.
Well, I think the craziest thing was when after Africa, I got some kind of weird infection on my leg. And finding myself in Japan going to see a doctor where my leg was oozing yellow, and I was like, I'm going to lose this leg. It was absolutely disgusting. And having 10 nurses around me wrapping up my leg and telling me I was going to be okay was exciting. It was very, very, very good. No, but you've traveled with tiny crew, right?
Right.
And then whenever we went to a new country, we'd hire locals,
right?
Because there was also part of it. We have to include, also to get better stories.
Yeah.
As you know, when you do go into post-production, I think the hardest thing is the stuff that you have to leave out.
Yeah.
And I find that there are so many. I mean, we have, which is a good problem. We have at least we could do one more perfect episode, but that's just the way it is. But that's. So much of this is common sense, and that's why I think people enjoy the show.
Right.
We know that we have some of the great. We know some of amongst us. We have scientists that will blow our minds. Right. I was just a little anecdote, a little story. I was in Hamburg, in Germany, and we were at this coal power plant that had been decommissioned. It was the newest in Germany, and they're going to turn it into a hydrogen power plant. And I was talking to the guy who was running it, and he'd been working in that industry for a long time, and he said he remembered just 10, 15 years ago, the wind covered 5% on a good day, and he was like, "It's very sweet. It's never going to be enough," because we were also at the steel industry, like it's so energy heavy.
Yeah.
And he said, now we're at 50, but now we are actually building hydrogen. We got excess electricity from the wind farms. And he said, I can't believe it. 6 years ago, I was in San Francisco with the UNDP doing this event like this. And one of the big high points of this thing was I was going to go outside, and I was going to get into an electric car, and I was going to drive around the corner. I was only allowed to drive around the corner because it wasn't ready to go on the roads. It's just 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And now the most sold cars in Northern Europe, anyway, are electric.
Yeah.
I know we all want it to happen faster, the whole transition, but it is happening. And there is real reason for hope.
Yeah.
And it's not about, I just want to be hopeful because that's so sweet and optimistic. But no, it's because it's based on reality. And I think, of course, as you say, it's difficult to sell the good story.
Yes.
It's easier to get clicks if you see a headline going, "World is burning." Oh God, let me see that. That's exciting.
Fear is a powerful emotion. People like.
But I also think that the reason sometimes when you talk about climate change, people go, "Yeah, I don't want to hear about it." Is exactly that, because why? We've had enough now.
Right.
We know it's happening.
Right.
There's no. I mean, that's the thing. Now, please tell me
it is.
It's going to be fine, and it is. I mean, we can see the solutions.
It is going to be the story of remaking the world, and this is going to play out over decades to come. You said you could have made an entire episode that you left on the cutting room floor. I feel like I shouldn't leave the audience without finding out what some of those solutions were, which ended up not coming into the show. Is there?
I don't want to disappoint any of the people that I've been visiting, but I also really hope that we'll find other ways to tell these stories in other media because there's and we all know, all you guys know here, when you travel and you meet. It just blows your mind. Okay, just one little thing, because I've talked about going back in time with the Nashalai, but then I was in Berkeley and this company that been able to copy what plants do, break down CO2 at source. I mean, Jesus, it does inspire. And what's most inspiring, everywhere we went, all these companies, workplace.
They take CO2 and make it into useful things, right?
Yeah. But the workplace, everybody was so happy to do this thing. Yeah. Even the guy who used to work in coal. I said, what has changed the most since now you're doing hydrogen? He says, it's so much better when we have family dinners. Because I don't get shit from my nieces. But it's just interesting because, although I have to mention one more company, this company called Beta, which is electric planes. It's in Vermont.
Yeah.
God, that was the coolest place to work. I wanted to join them. Every employee was given a flight certificate because they were worked in aviation.
Electric planes. You talked about a few things that people thought would never become reality, won't scale, but at least they were built. Electric planes are still seen as science fiction, and of course there are now billions of dollars being invested to try and make them into reality. I think the Better plane is only a few seats for.
Yeah, but
seats. But now they're talking about 90-seat electric aircraft.
Listen, listen. We all. The funny thing is, I just don't. I can. It's not because the challenges aren't insane. They are.
Yeah.
And we have to work really hard. But I just think the evidence should give us real hope. If you see where we were 50 years ago and where we are today.
Yeah.
Both good and bad.
Yeah.
But clearly we can find.
Well,
ways.
Again, as part of my job, I see many of these solutions, and many of the startups which have been around sometimes a decade and they've got no attention.
No.
They are immensely happy that finally somebody is looking at us and recognizing the work that we've done and the potential that solution has.
But also, it's an interesting thing because I've heard that from investors. That thing you just mentioned, well, we never know which one is going to be the one.
Right.
Which is like the worst reason for not care and not giving that attention. Because yes, of course, not everything is going to be, why did Google suddenly be the one that exploded? Why wasn't it some other, what was it called, MySpace?
Yeah.
No, Facebook. Well, Facebook did again. I'm too old for it. But why is it we don't know, but we know that it's happening.
Yeah. But many of them are going to be on a TV show for the first time. We heard in the trailer the woman who was so excited to have Jamie Lannister on her electric
the Rome
motorbike.
Yeah.
Did you get that feeling that people, when you went to a solution?
No, but of course you want to, of course, because there is real passion, and like in Kenya, they're a very, very young company, and making the biggest form of transportation in Africa and most of Asia is what they call the boda, motorcycles, scooters, and the funny thing was, then they made this incredibly cheap. It was only $1,500 for this bike. And everything was by hand. It was incredible, and they had the order book was out. You just couldn't. It was all about scaling up. That was the problem, right?
In these places.
But then you travel. Then I went to Vietnam.
Yeah.
And I said I want to go travel around Vietnam. How do I do that? Oh, there's another electric bike company. There's electric bike, electric. It's everywhere, right?
Yes. Well, I grew up in India, and developing countries are very price-sensitive environments. They only pick up a solution if it makes economic sense, if it's cheaper than whatever is available.
Yeah.
It's not really about climate or pollution. It's about, how can I make my life easier and more affordable? The show is going to be out. It'll be running for 6 weeks. The 6 episodes will be done. What next?
Well, first, one thing that is amazing with Bloomberg, and I keep telling Bloomberg, please make people aware of this, because one thing is but the fact that this is free.
Yeah.
You just have to get the Bloomberg Originals app or go to Bloomberg.com.
Yep, just
you can watch. You don't have to pay anything. It's there. So just push that out there, because and it's you follow me, but it's really about the people everywhere. So what was your question? What's next?
What's the next thing you're working on? What's the next project?
Now I'm growing this beautiful mustache. I'm doing a show called King and Conqueror. I'm playing William the Conqueror. So it's I'm back to
back to killing people.
The first king of Britain. Yes, I'm learning a lot of history. History is important.
And with your work with the UNDP.
With the UNDP, well, So, I mean, that's another thing that I'm trying to persuade them to make more stories about the people and not the fear, because I mean, all we have. I mean, I think for human beings, you can take everything away from us, but you cannot isolate us.
Yeah.
If we don't have but if we don't have other human beings, we're screwed, right? And sometimes we end up fighting each other for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do a show. I want to just more. It's about people. That's also why I'm an actor, right?
Well, the United Nations Development Program, if you guys have not heard of it, we had his head, the head of UNDP, Achim Steiner, on Bloomberg Green's podcast Zero. It is, we know of UN and its climate bodies, but UNDP is the one that deploys the most capital on climate solutions, and so.
Well, it's the biggest agency in the UN, and it does everything from like supporting digging a well in a small village to literally nation building. Why a lot of people don't know about them is because they historically cannot take credit, because it's fair enough. It's about they're helping whatever country they're helping, so it's about that local minister taking the credit, which is great.
Yes.
But I also want to give credit to those people working there because they're doing amazing work.